You are listening to LOA Recon with the Good Vibe coach Jeanette Ma, where we dissect the ins and outs and the art and science of conscious creation, all intended to amp up your manifesting game. Let's have some fun together. Okay, so this is the story of how I came to know that it really, truly is all good. I'm sharing it because there's been a lot of stuff happening lately all over the globe, not just here in the US. The sort of stuff that could bring anyone down if they paid enough attention to it the way it's being presented, like looking at it from a traditional perspective, where we believe in things like death and loss and evil and that sort of stuff. And I'll tell you what, it took me out of my regular good groove for a minute too. Which is okay. It's important for us to feel out whatever feelings we have about something rather than just try to dismiss or ignore whatever doesn't feel good. Conscious creators sometimes do that, where we have a habit of judging any thought or feeling we have that isn't good or of the light. But our real work was never to avoid every negative thing. Our measure of success isn't that we feel good 24/7. That's not the purpose of living life here on earth. Contrast is an important, in fact, it's an essential part of our expansion. So those things that we don't want or don't enjoy, they're not to be denied or avoided. And it's not necessarily a sign of your bad vibration when you rendezvous with something that feels really challenging. I've been hearing Abe say lately that sometimes our inner being steers us into contrast, specifically for the expansion that comes from it. Boy, if that doesn't help you remove any judgment around, because so many conscious creators I know ask, how did I manifest this? When they're knee deep in something they don't want. I don't think that's always a helpful way to look at it. All right, but what I really wanted to say here about this was that there's something I've learned about the quote unquote bad stuff in life that helps me tremendously whenever it feels like I'm knee deep in something unwanted. And it all started when Kim Falconer sent me a copy of her book called The Spell of Rosette. And I was really excited to read this book from Kim. I've never read anything like it. I started it, immediately fell in love with it. In fact, I went to bed one night, started reading it. I read way later than I should have. And that night, I had a dream. I had a dream that literally changed my life. Here's how the dream went. You know how dreams are weird? How they don't make sense? Okay, this one was like that. It made no sense because in this dream, I was everyone that a person could be, and everything that could happen to a person happened to me, meaning I was young and I was old, I was male and I was female, I was famous and I was forgotten. I was every kind of version of a person that you could be. I told you this only makes sense in dreams, right? And I had every experience that a human could experience. Everything. Like I was murdered and I did murder. I was loved and I did love. I was not loved and I did not love. I was on both sides of everything that you could possibly imagine. And at the end of the dream, the very last thing that happened was that it was betrayal. I betrayed someone and I was betrayed by someone. Okay, and again, I know it doesn't make any sense to us, but in the dream it made perfect sense that I was everyone and experienced everything. And the very last piece was that betrayal. And it felt like, I was feeling this stuff like I was living it, like I was experiencing it. And then betrayal, man, it was, I felt it, okay? And as I'm getting emotional thinking about this, how much it meant to me to have this dream. Okay, so as that very last piece happened, the betrayal, I'm still in the dream, but I'm kind of starting to wake up from the dream. And as I experienced the very last thing that I had yet to experience, which was the betrayal, both sides of it, I felt fulfillment like I had never felt in my entire life. Never felt so full, so whole, so complete, so satisfied. Okay, and I'm a girl who knows that. I am no stranger to the vibration of fulfillment. But in this dream, the way I was experiencing it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. It was amazing. It was amazingly good. Okay. So that was the dream. I'm waking up with that fulfillment after having been everyone and experienced everything. And I loved it. I loved it. The best part was that I'd done everything, not just the good parts. It's not like, oh, well, you got to take the good with the bad. No, it was all good. It was really, truly all good. It was like this huge privilege, this huge win, and a tremendous gift that I got to experience all of it. Okay. So I woke up from that dream and I was like, wow. I mean, I changed my perspective on life. Like, you can't really believe in bad stuff after a dream like that. I mean, it really rocked my world. Okay, so the next time I was talking to Kim, I said to her, I was like, wow, I had this craziest dream. Let me tell you about it. I said, as a matter of fact, I had it the night after I started reading Spell of Rosette. And I told her about the dream and she laughed and she said, oh, that, haha. Yeah, I wrote a consciousness raising spell into the pages of the book. She said, everyone experiences it a little bit differently. Okay, that blew my mind. But that's exactly what it did for me. It raised my consciousness around the way I'd been perceiving how we experience life, what happens to us and what it's all about. Whenever I think I'm looking at something that looks like it's quote unquote bad, I remember that dream and that someone right now, this is their dream come true. I mean, I believe that wasn't just a weird dream. I believe that was what it is for us. I believe that's the truth for what we intended for ourselves when we chose to be human here on earth. So I share that because sometimes I write about stuff that might sound a little like I'm a little callous to someone else's suffering, but it isn't that. It's just that I have a different perspective on why we're here and what we want and what it's all about. And this isn't that unusual a perspective, to be honest. I'm not the first one to land on this. I've heard Abraham say things along this line, that we came here for the whole shebang, not just the quote unquote good parts. There are a lot of spiritual teachers who share that teaching, that it's really, truly all good. In fact, it makes me think of that children's story. The little angel up in heaven who wants to experience forgiveness, wants to learn how to forgive. And this angel is asking for someone to come down and be with them on earth to help them learn forgiveness. And no one wants to go do it. And finally, someone does. I think it was an old soul who said, I'll go with you. And that person was like the hero who was going to go help this little angel experience forgiveness, because that soul was going to have to do something to them to make them have to forgive, which probably wasn't going to look very pretty. They'd be wearing the black hat here, in the role they were playing on Earth. It reminds me of, I know an energy worker who did a session with a girl whose father had recently passed. And this girl was so mad, so mad at her dad, who she called him a butthole dad. She said he was a real butthole. And so she wanted to have this session where she could talk to her dad about what a butthole he'd been to her. And this energy worker was talking about how she's talking with her dad, who's on the other side now. And here's what he had to say to his daughter, who is still so mad about what a jerk he'd been. He said, that girl, okay, maybe he didn't exactly say it with this attitude, but this is how I heard it. When she wanted to come be this person on earth, she asked me to come be her dad. She said, I need someone to be my butthole dad. And she asked me to do it. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. And she said, please. He said, no, really, I don't want to do it. And she said, please, I really want it to be you. And finally, he relented to go play this role for her and be her butthole dad. And now she's mad at me? That's what this energy worker, that's how she tells the story of what she heard from the dad's side of it. I just love that for helping us get a different angle on what looks like things might be going really wrong in life. I think there's something else afoot. Once upon a time, I was breaking up with a fiance, and it was the kind of breakup that wasn't cool, calm, or collected. It was heated and fiery and spontaneous and in the moment. And I was so mad at him that I took off my ring, and it was a big ring. This was a heavy ring. I took it off and I threw it at him across the room. And that sounds like a really childish, immature thing to do. It is, I'm sure. And can you hear me smiling when I tell the story of this? I I know not everyone needs to have this experience, but sometimes I wish that every woman who ever felt disempowered or taken advantage of, that one day she felt the strength to stand up for herself and throw her ring across the room. I mean, I'm sure I wasn't like enjoying it in the moment. I'm sure it was angry and it was furious and it was all sorts of not really pleasant things, but I didn't have to get too much distance on it to feel the beauty of it, like the privilege of having gotten to that kind of an emotional place. I really truly believe it's all good, you guys. Oh, this Abraham quote, I blogged about this recently. I recently read this from Abraham where they were saying that Esther often gets invitations from people who want Abraham to join their world peace movement. And Abraham's response is, "We would never impose peace on anyone." Okay, that sounds a little mind-blowing. It might be right when we think, oh, everyone, of course, we're all striving for a planet of peace and love and all that. You know what? I know for a fact that's not the case. I have friends who live for being able to be the hero. Like, that's what they literally live for. They don't feel themselves if they aren't rescuing someone. And I understand not wanting to take that away from them, even when what they're involved in is battle and fighting. They seem to like it. I could get Abraham saying, we would never impose peace on anyone. We get to choose for ourselves. So I was also thinking about a quote from my colleague and friend, Cindy Chavez. I heard her say recently, everyone always wins at the game they're playing. And I think for us to stand in judgment of someone else's game is a little bit foolish because we don't know why they're here and what they're up to. Maybe someone agreed to be someone's butthole dad. Who knows? Let's cut them a little slack maybe, huh? And mind our own vibrational business. Tend to what we can manage, and that's what we think and how we feel. And I think when we even remove the judgment, not just from how others are doing it, but from our own selves too, because it's easy for conscious creators to label some of our thoughts as good or bad or right or wrong. And I just like to remember that we came here for the whole shebang, the whole beautiful emotional experience of being human. And amen for everything that we get to experience, not just the parts we might consider quote unquote good. So whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, let it be okay. And I hope that something I've shared here has helped to impart that confidence in that knowing that I got from that amazing dream from Kim Falconer, that it really truly is all good. Thanks for listening and happy manifesting.